Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on InRangeTV. We are out here today to do a comparison test.
Yeah, we're kind of launching a new series. We had a really interesting opportunity here with this very rare rifle. And what we wanted to do is come up with an idea of how are we going to do something that tests every rifle we come across and do a litmus test on the clock.
Yep.
About the qualities of that rifle, maybe not in a completely practical environment, but against the clock, against targets at a specific, always the same exact course of fire.
Right, we want some sort of objective comparison, as much as us doing this once or twice with a sample size of one rifle. As far as that can be objective, we want an objective test.
Right. So what we've come up with here is something that we can put any rifle through its paces at any given day.
Right.
We've got a piece of paper, 8.5 by 11, standard American sheet of paper at 7 yards.
Yep.
That we double tap. Then we have a mini IPSC steel plate at 50 yards that we have to shoot offhand. Then we've got a mini Q target at 100 actually meters that we have to hit from prone with one shot. Then we hit it again with a second shot from prone, stand up, get the mini IPSC at 50 meters with one hit, and then 2 more rounds double tap at the paper at 7 yards.
Yep.
So you're talking about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rounds total.
And we do this starting with the rifle empty, the rifle at low ready in the strong hand, and a magazine in the weak hand.
Essentially the rifle in the most unready condition possible.
Exactly.
Safety on, bolt closed. If there is a bipod, we've decided we'll start with it deployed on any rifle that has an integral bipod for consistency.
Right.
And what we're going to do is time this, and this will give us some sort of idea about the qualities of the rifle based on the times.
Right.
This isn't a competition.
Exactly.
Because some days I'll beat you and some days you'll beat me.
And we're also looking at rifles that are differently, I'm left-handed, Carl's right-handed, and that'll affect these scores. So we can also see how much does the lefty-righty difference matter, for example.
So we'll see Ian's scores, mine scores, and then we'll aggregate them and we'll come up with an idea of how well do these rifles really work.
Right. And what we're hoping to do is get some feel here. We want to take our own personal biases out of it. So I might be super attracted to this thing because, oh my God, it's rare and weird and cool and Swiss. But maybe that Century C308 is actually a better practical gun.
And we're using this today to represent the G3 and CETME series of rifles.
Right.
They're ostensibly identical.
So the reason we're doing that is our PE57 here is pretty much the only rifle caliber roller delay blowback rifle other than the G3 family.
G3 CETME.
So they both operate the same way, but they're both very much different guns. Let's get started. Let's see how they do.
Okay.
All right.
.25-78.
2 misses.
Are you ready?
Ready.
Stand by. $18.86.
Time, 20.89.
Told you get me.
All right, take 2 for Carl. Shooter ready?
Yep.
Stand by. All right, time 17.13.
That's better.
All right, Carl, what do you think about that?
You know, it's a beautifully machined, gorgeous looking rifle made to high quality standards.
Uh-huh.
And in shooting it, while I have not had much trigger time on it, I mean, in fact, I shot 2 drills, I found it to be honestly a little unwieldy.
Okay.
The thing's kind of pike-ish long.
It is a little long. It's also heavy.
Well, the heaviness isn't so much a problem in that it seems to balance reasonably well, but there's something about that length and where the grip is that just doesn't apply to my modern shooting standards.
Okay.
I don't C-clamp, but this is kind of
It's a little close.
It's really close in. And for the offhand, I found that to be awkward. Prone was fine, except it does do this.
Yeah.
And I had to make sure that I didn't go forward with that when I was pushing forward on the bipod. If you push forward, you'll do that.
You know, that's a good point. The bipod on the Swiss ZFK55, their bolt-action sniper rifle,
Yeah.
it's the exact same thing. Now, part of the reason for that is that this bipod can slide down to the back, and you can position it front or back, so it folds both ways for stowage.
I get that, but you know, in a lot of modern bipods, they actually deploy forward and then lock back. And then they can't accidentally
Right.
go forwards, or they lock in a way that when you push forward on the gun or apply pressure towards the gun, the bipod actually gets stronger and more
Right.
rigid. It doesn't suddenly break free.
Right.
On this one, you push forward, you can actually boop, do
Yeah.
that, which I did do briefly in one of the filming.
Yes, I saw when you were coming back up, it was pushed out.
So I would say incredibly beautiful gun from its machining qualities and its quality of manufacture. I would say from its firing qualities, offhand is not its game. Prone with the bipod deployed could be its game as long as you're cognizant of that bipod.
Okay.
Trigger's good. I'm sure the accuracy's fine. That wasn't an issue.
Yeah, we're not testing that with this, but these things are renowned for being remarkably accurate. And the surplus Swiss ammo it's funny, if you read around about hand loading 7.5 Swiss, the answer is pretty much don't bother, because you really have to get down to the minutia to hand load any better than surplus Swiss GP90.
By the way, the sight picture was excellent.
GP11, sorry.
The sight picture is excellent.
Yep.
The sight picture is identical to an FG42
Yes, it is.
or a SCAR H.
Oh, interesting.
So let's move on to the G3 and compare another
Yeah.
delayed roller gun. Hi. .70.
Ready.
Stand by.
You hit the low one 4 times.
21.77.
Couple misses. Time is 2264.
I think you beat me on everything, didn't you? Yep.
Shooter ready. Stand by. Time 21.05.
Can't get under 20. All right, so we just did this. Ian shot it twice. I shot it twice. Both on the clock, both rifles.
Yep.
What do you think?
Well, I thought the PE57 was the nicer rifle, and that's actually how the scores turned out.
It is how the scores turned out for both of us. At first, when I shot this, my initial impressions were it's kind of a pike. It was really long and unwieldy. And I thought the bipod was kind of weird, and the fact that the bipod can actually move forward and kind of mess us up was something I complained about. However, when we put it on the clock, the reality is the bipod made a huge difference on the scores at the 100-meter prone target.
It did.
And the sight picture on this gun markedly superior to that of the G3 CETME.
I agree.
Yeah.
And that's with the CETME, which I think is better than the G3.
Actually, I'd agree, but they're very close.
even with your extended HK23 charging handle on there, I found this far easier to charge at the very beginning. Obviously, for me as a lefty, this is going to be even easier than it is for you, because I don't have to reach up and across the rifle. Interestingly, we did one take that we didn't put on film because it was a disaster, where I accidentally locked the charging handle open while trying to cycle it.
Yeah, you were doing it wrong-handedly, and you accidentally locked it in there by accident. And that's not what we're trying to time today, but it's worth noting.
It's an interesting side outcome. So, best cases here. My best time with the SIG was 18.86 seconds. Your best time was 17:13.
Real close.
So yeah, actually remarkably close. And then with the G3, my best time was 1970, and your best time was 21:05.
Yeah, you actually beat me on my own rifle.
I did actually do that.
It happens. So what we should do is take both those times later, and we'll put it in the video. We'll add them together, divide them, and get the average.
Right.
And then we'll have a number of the score between the two. So,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So what's interesting though is what I would say is this: this was designed to be a mass-produced, cheap, churn 'em out rifle.
That's true.
For waves of Russian hordes coming over the Eastern Front in 1986, right? So they wanted to make a lot of these, didn't want to spend a lot of money doing it, and they effectively succeeded in doing that.
You know, people have come to this weird conclusion that because these were made by HK, they must be like magnificently expensive, fine-tuned rifles. In reality, there's not that much difference between a stamped HK and a stamped AK.
What's funny about that is if you ever look at an actual HK, the welding work is legitimately uglier and worse than it is on this CETME PTR hybrid CETME G3.
Yeah.
Those things are rugged and ugly guns because they're just mass produced. They were meant to make a lot of them. This is a Swiss watch.
Yes. So fantastic quality, far more expensive, and that does come out, I think, in our shooting results.
It does.
Of course, if you're a government, a military logistics officer, how much the rifle costs really makes a big difference. And of course, if you're a gun collector here in the US today, that makes a big difference too, because this is a far more expensive rifle to get your hands on than one of these.
The other things I think that are worth mentioning is it was much easier to charge the gun, just like Ian said. Even though I have the extended handle on this is still kind of manly. You got to really
And it's not just, it's farther away, and it definitely takes a lot more force.
And even though the safety on this appears to be very badly placed, which it is, this appears to be better. The reality is you still have to break your firing grip to really get to it.
And as a lefty, actually not that difficult for me to manipulate that.
And on this, you still kind of have to reach a little bit. And this has a better, actually an extended safety on it too, but you have to kind of get up there. And by the time you've got up here to get this, you've wasted time.
Yeah.
So better in theory, but for you, that one is actually more effective.
Yeah.
As well as, it was much easier to sit the magazine.
Yeah.
That rock and lock was faster and more reliable than feeding the G3 mag. This was a little bit of, is it in, is it right,
Yeah.
and then slam it in. Not bad, but this was slower.
Yeah.
Definitely slower. So I guess what I would say is, another thing to think about actually is, the other thing you have to consider is that when they're mass producing the G3, I don't know the numbers, but I'm going to assume that the German military had a larger number of conscripts.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
So if you're going to have to arm X number of men versus Y number of Swiss, maybe you go for the higher quality because you can afford the extra time and cost to manufacture less rifles for less men.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. But if we take this test for what it is and the timer don't lie, that's the better gun.
Clearly, the objective result of this test is everyone needs to buy themselves a PE57.
Right. So get rid of this and get one of those. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this kind of content, please consider supporting us on Patreon. It's what allows us to do a lot of this and buy ammo for guns like that, to be able to do stuff like this, to give you times like that. If you can't afford to do that, totally get it. Please just subscribe to the channel on our Facebook, YouTube, and Full30, and share with your friends.